Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to be on this call. You know I'm going to make it fun.
Thank you.
Let's mute yourself, or Stephanie, start muting them. Let's just mute everybody right now. They can come off mute later. All right, put in the chat box, what was one thing you got out of Mega Camp? One thing you got out of Mega Camp. It was a great Mega Camp. Do not miss Family Reunion. It's in Las Vegas. Go get your hotel room. Get going. Go deeper on basics. There you go. All right. So Ashley, champions are champions because they do the basics better than anyone. When you think of a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, they did the basics better than anyone. So when you think about Stephen Curry, oh my gosh, he's amazing. All right. Okay, good. We'll get started here. All right. Bottom of the hour. I'm on time. You're on time. Miles, let's get this show going. So let me give this great information to everybody today.
All right. Well, welcome to today's webinar, 5 ways to build a performance culture that doubles your business magically. It is going to be hosted by our wonderful MAPS coach, Monica Reynolds. Before I kick it over to her, I do have 3 quick announcements. Please note this meeting is being recorded. I will share a link in the chat to the MAPS YouTube channel where the recording will be available within 24 hours here shortly. Currently, everyone is on mute. If you have any questions for Monica, please type them into the chat box. She will address them.
Well, it's 1:30.
She will address the questions the best she can throughout the call. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about MAPS coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's going to be all for me, Monica. Take it away.
Thank you. Stephanie, you muted me too, but I like it. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Monica Reynolds, and I'm going to have a great fast-paced call. And if you know me, I just tell it like it is. So if you've been to Mega Camp and I listened to all those great agents up there, I have a pet peeve, and all of them talked about all the different businesses they're doing and how much production they're going. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, they have a performance culture. And everyone contributes at a high level with maximum efficiency, it sounded like, when they were sharing all the different things that they're doing. So let's go to the next screen, Stephanie. And that's about me. And I'll share about that a little bit later. So we'll just keep on going and go to the next screen. Okay, so I've done 90,000 one-on-one calls. No one's coached more than me. You want to reach me, it's monica@kw.com. That's easy. Let's go to the performance culture. So here's my pet peeve. Next slide. When I'm listening to someone up there, and Stephanie, go ahead and highlight me if you can. When I'm up there, one of the things that when I say up there, when I'm listening to someone on Mega Camp or Family Reunion, when a team Rainmaker goes up there, they didn't do all that production by themselves. And I've yet to hear one of them say, my team, my assistant, my director of operations, my buyer agent. So watch this. A real estate performance culture, whether virtual or physical environment, is designed to help each team member be as effective as possible in achieving team goals and providing value to clients and team members. Now, let me stop right there. Each person has a role in that goal. That Rainmaker on stage professing all the wonderfulness that they do, they didn't do that alone. They're the Rainmaker, right? The Rainmaker demonstrates the quality they want others to follow and emulate. That part I get. You got to walk the talk, right? It starts with the top of the organizational chart. It's all about the environment, and the 5 steps to build a performance culture becomes the normal day-to-day. So let's talk about what the first step is. All right. So if some of you know my history, I've been in real estate, that's next slide, Stephanie, for over 44 years. And I had a team where the Rainmaker never walked in the building for 7 years, and every year netted 1 million. And I'll show you our GPS. We only had myself and one other listing specialist, but we went on all the listings together. We had 2 buyer agents, 2 ISAs, and 3 assistants. That's all we had on the team. And we did over 200 transactions a year. So Gary talked about in the CEO mastermind, he said, you got to hire the killers. Well, let's change that word maybe and say the hire the winners. And you got to hire winners. You got to hire people who have the shiny eyes that want to do what it takes to be on that team, to do what it takes to meet all the standards. And so let me share a couple things with you. So each team member may not understand the value of their contribution to the goal. So every single person, whether you're answering the phone, you're processing a listing, you're showing a buyer, you have an open house, that's a contribution to the goal. And so we have to make it clear that everybody contributes and say, oh, the agent did 200 transactions. No, they didn't. The agent plus the team. So when you have a performance culture, you give credit where credit is due. Not one person on that stage did not have people behind them, an assistant, a director of operations, an ISA team, whoever it happened to be. No one got up there and said, I'm a single agent. I do all of this myself. So, but a performance culture is that you have strategic team members that do certain things and contribute to the goal. Everyone's committed. So everyone has a business plan and a GPS and a 411. You can't build a performance culture until all of that is clear. So for example, the Rainmaker lists 50 homes, sells 40, brings 10 in referrals. The buyer agents sell 50 homes, bring in 10 referrals. The assistant, does 50 reviews, brings in 25 referrals. Now they're going to be doing 100 transactions. I hope that the assistant is saying, by the way, our business is based on referrals from great people like you. Who do you know right now? We need another great client like you. Who do you know right now who's thinking about buying or selling? Who brings in the same amount? So now we have the strategic team members all contributing to the goal. So when you're building a team, you have a team. So the question is, do you have strategic team members who understand that everybody is part of the goal? Whether you're answering the phone, whether you're putting an open house sign up, we're all part of that goal. That's one piece of it. So on the next one, I want to share with you, and stepped out of real estate and became a full-time coach, and I was also the VP of MAPS. So here's our next slide, Stephanie. And so we were going to close, and we did 225 transactions. Stephanie will pull it. She's got internet challenges. She's in California. So the next one you're going to see is there we go, the GPS. All right. So priority number, we wanted to close 225 transactions, and it's 3.2 million in income. Now, watch this in a GPS. This is the way a GPS is. It's very clear what the contribution is for Lacey, Peggy, Aaron, Monica, the ISA team, the assistants. So priority number one is that we were going to take 180 listings. We were going to close 158. The strategies are where we were going to get it. So past clients and building that referrals. We were going to gain out of area agent referrals. Now that means I'm calling out of area agents. I am networking at Family Reunion. I am networking at Mega Camp. I'm going to masterminds. We're going to gain 47 transactions from radio advertising. So we're following up with those people. We're going back to people who called in. So that was one of our major marketing sources. Just listed, just sold. I was committed to calling 100 homes around every listing, 100 again over every sold, or door knocking them. So these are my steps as the person that was in charge of getting 180 listings. This is what I was going to do. These were my action items, my lead generation. So when you're building a GPS and you want a performance culture, you have to put down who's going to perform where and what was the benchmark, so we could evaluate those to see what was working or not. Now, I'm a no-nonsense person. I got the drill down. I know exactly what it takes to net $1 million a year. I know exactly what it takes to build a great team. And it starts with a GPS that everyone has a position and part in and names on it, okay? So, of course, like when you look at Peggy and Lacey, they were to close 67 buyer sales. So you're going to gain 25% from past clients. or 25 transactions, which is 38%. Open houses, they were going to get 28% from there, being 18 transactions. They were each going to hold 2 open houses per week, 2, minimum of 2. They were going to get the internet advertising, they were going to convert 20% from there. Transactions from radio advertising, door knocking. Now we could have benchmarks to see how they were doing. So if it's half of the year and we don't have any transactions from the open houses, is it a skills issue? Is it a location issue? Have we even been doing at least 50 before the half point of the year? All right. So then priority number 3 was to increase past client referrals over the last 9 years. Now that didn't pass client referrals. So everybody on the team was responsible for that. Growing the database, creating and distributing promotion items, client appreciation parties, and how many events that would recommend, hosting 2 educational seminars. So Stephanie, let's go to the next slide. So we were really, really clear. Now, each person had their own GPS, and yet we had our team GPS with everybody's name on it, okay? Now, step 2, you communicate the goals on a daily basis. So we had a big whiteboard in our office with every single day's production, whether listing was taken, listing appointment, buyer showings. I mean, it's all there. We could see the activities. If you don't have the activities, you don't have the production. If you don't have the appointments, is the critical number that you are monitoring. How many appointments today? How many appointments today? So ask yourself, how many appointments do you have today? How many do you have this week? How do you get an appointment every single day for your business? So this is a Friday report. And some of you know in my history, I used to work for Dave Ramsey for 5 years. I ran their endorsed local provider training program. I created that whole thing. And one of the things that I learned working for Dave is that I had to turn in a Friday report. 5 things I accomplished to move the business forward. Week of, and then that would be the date, and then the 5 things, week high, week low. And then I added, how do you wow? What did you do to wow a customer? We are about customer service. If we wow these people and their experience, they will give us referrals. And so what is your mission? What is your vision? What are your values and beliefs and perspectives? If you don't have this written and you don't have a team, you don't write it. You work as a team to write it. Authorship is ownership, per Gary Keller. So you've got, once you have your goals, you've got it in your activities, you've now got to have the communication of where you are. This is not put your head in the sand and peek up once a quarter and see where you're at. No, you do this on a daily basis. All right. The next slide is going to show you what I got on between the Friday report from buyer agents and assistants. And on the next slide that Stephanie's going to get to, it had the listing update and the pending update. When you want a performance culture, you have to know what's performing and what's happening. So this is a listing update report. And, you know, it's not completely filled out here, different things you can see, you know, so days on market on the listings, that's critical in this market. If it's been on the market more than 2 weeks, it is overpriced. And I always say to the seller, my job is to protect your equity. I will be ferocious about protecting your equity. And it is your decision. And every 2 weeks, if we do not have an accepted offer on your property, showings or no showings, the market and the buyers are saying, no, I will be back to share with you what the next step is, which is a price reduction, price improvement, whatever. Then here's the pending report. This is your cash pipeline. You need to know what's coming in, what's going out, because you've got to stay on top of that. And that's a high motivator sometimes when there's a few blanks in there that shouldn't be. If you know you need 2 houses to pay all your bills personally and business-wise, you better have at least 2 pendings on there for this month. 4 would be better, because we always want to have that extra cash that we can start putting into savings or reserves. Now, if you go to the next slide, step number 3 in a performance culture, you have to have defined skill sets. Now, what do I mean by defined skill sets? Well, if you take a look at this 30, 60, 90 buyer plan, there isn't a buyer in the world that isn't going to be successful. If you come on my team, I'm going to say, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 2 open houses per week. I'm squinting here because of my screen slow. You're going to submit personally 300 names for your SOI. You're going to memorize, you're going to call through your SOI, personally call your SOI. You're going to memorize the open house conversation, memorize the just sold, role play 1/2 hour Monday through Friday, memorize the buyer presentation, and record it on Zoom for me to acknowledge and to critique. Make 20 contacts a day, probably should be 30. Track contacts, set 1 appointment per week, shadow agent, buyer agent for 30 days on showings. This is the first 30 days. I'm not telling them to set an appointment every day. It's 1 per week. Preview 10 homes per week, not online. Go drive the neighborhoods. It's different than looking at it online. The millennials, the Z's out there, you want to look at everything online. Go drive it. All right. Learn market statistics. Meet with the lender on available lending programs. I talked to a buyer agent today and I said, tell me 7 lending programs you know about right now. I don't know. And they go, huh. Their next call is to the lender. Have them come to your office and spend an hour talking about how to buy a property. The interest rates just go up and they're going to 8%. Yes or no in the chat box. And I got a lot of great agents in here. Yes or no in the chat box. If you bring on a buyer agent on your team, is that something that would cause them to have a defined skill set? Is that a defined skill set? Of course. And that's how you build a performance culture. You don't send anybody to an open house until they can memorize the greeting. Hi, Monica Reynolds with Keller Williams. Thank you for coming. The seller requests that you sign in. So how long have you guys been looking for a property? Describe the perfect property for you. And when they give you an objection like, oh, I'm already working with an agent, ignore that. If they say, oh, I'm just looking, ignore that. Learn how to handle some of the objections. Well, good for you. You're working with another agent. May I have your agent's name? I'd love to tell them that you stopped by. Oh, well, I'm not going to share that with you. Well, that just tells you they don't have one. This is a performance business. This is a performance culture. You've got to have skills to survive in this business. Now, I come from an era where interest rates were 16.5%. So most of you are a bunch of crybabies as far as I'm concerned. This is a great deal. Single digits, figure it out. Bunch of crybabies because we learned about the 3.5 and 2.5 and yes, you should have refinanced, whatever. Doesn't matter. This is what it costs now. This is the home you can afford now. No, it's not a $500,000 home. Now you can afford a $300,000 home. Get that instead. So here's the bottom line. When you have a very clear, defined skill sets before you release a buyer agent out into the world, or you're looking at your assistants and they have a defined skill set on how they handle calls and how often they call people and how they ask for referrals and reviews. You have a defined systems in your office for goal setting and accountability. You start to build the right team. Now, here's the scary thing on communication. There will not be a buyer or seller. There will not be a buyer or seller that will ever say to you, I need to cancel my listing. You guys call too much. So on the next screen, you will see communication system. You should have a 15-minute huddle once a week. Oops. You should have a 15. Is that enough? No. But I think a 15-minute huddle is daily. So that's why I said that. And you go, okay, I can do that. No, 15-minute huddle is daily. You have a weekly team meeting and a quarterly team meeting and do something fun. Pickleball apparently is a big deal right now. Bowling, dinner and a movie, happy hour, whatever it is, get out of the environment and go build your community. Invite a few of your affiliates and have them pay. All right. Now, one of the things that you're going to see there is that never had a team where someone said, not my job. Everyone is willing to help and communicate and do whatever. When you go to my training for the perfect real estate assistant or the 2-day boot camp, if you want it fast, we call every single listing and pending every day. Stephanie's on this call. We've worked together for going on 14 years now. We called every listing every day. Did we get them every day? No, not me, but Stephanie, the listing manager, or Charlie, the listing manager at the time. our transaction coordinator absolutely called every pending every day. And some of you are going, what? You're not going to get them all the time. It makes them feel safe, secure, and that you're on top of it, and they're not just a number. So I was talking to a client today, and they said, what'd you get out of MegaCamp? And they said, well, not to make the client feel like they're just a file. And they go, really? Really? And you work with me? Okay, so here's the bottom line. If you communicate at a high level, so should your team communicate at a high level, your listing manager, your TC? Yes. And should you, as the rainmaker, if you've got a team like that, yes, you should call once a week. Never answer a question. Never answer a question. If you answer a question, that means that your ego's out of whack. You say, hey, that's purpose of my call was to say hello. How are you guys doing? And if they ask me a question, I go, hey, that's a question for Stephanie. Let me get her. I'll have her call you right back. She's got the file in front of her. Now, in my systems in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant class, you know that when you go on a presentation, because the call is one call a month for the agent. I coach you how to be a great boss. I coach you how to be a great agent. The second and third call is for the assistant. But I coach you to go on a listing presentation with your assistant's business card after they've signed the listing saying, this is the next person you'll be talking to. This is my professionally trained assistant. Now, they will be given scripts by me on exactly how to set expectations with that client during the listing, how to set expectations for that client during the pending. For example, when it comes to inspections, when it comes to, the buyer negotiating, I'd say there's only a couple things that we look at very strongly when it comes to negotiating as a seller. If there's a health hazard like mold, we don't have that, of course not. But if there is, and that shows up, if there's any kind of code violations or any kind of structural problems, those are the ones that we're most concerned of. So you're setting them up that this inspection is going to find something, and it could be totally silly. However, it's going to be the buyer that's going to then send back what they're looking for. And in this market, they'll be looking for something. This is not the market where they won't be looking for something. And so you're setting up those expectations. And I have all those scripts absolutely written out far better than what I delivered. Okay. So now let's go to the next step, and then I'll see it's a requirement we have expectations in order to, absolutely. You've got to set up the expectations. And so we always say moving date can be a moving target. We do everything to stick to that date. We're committed to that, and we're going to keep you informed along the way. And we're going to call you often. You never say we're going to call every day, because sometimes you don't. Okay, so step 5 in to the type of environment that you're wanting to create. And you want to create a performance culture, you have to educate. And you have to pour into your people and give them the opportunity. Stephanie, go back to step 5, please. Okay, there. So this is the education promotes growth. All right. So you've got to have a growth plan. So September, I would love for you guys to consider for yourself as an agent and for your team member. And if you got 2 or 3 assistants, it's only one price. Come to the Perfect Real Estate Assistant. There's a 450-page policy and procedures manual. There's 3 one-hour calls. They're live, and I answer questions, and it's me, nobody else. And so you get me. And I've coached more people. I dug the well on assistants. I wrote the books on hiring and training assistants in the 90s. And some of that happens to be in the MREA book. Interesting, isn't it? Love Gary Keller. All right, implement one new system. You can't implement 52 systems in 1 week. So this is a growth plan for an assistant. Role play 3 times a week, asking for reviews and referrals. So when you say, when they're calling a listing or pending and they say, gosh, it's so great how you guys communicate. It's so great that you called. Hey, thank you for noticing. Our business is based on reviews from great people like you. May I send you a quick link? Would you take a couple of minutes and give us a 5-star and mention our team? We so appreciate that. Get them to know when they say something nice, you strike. You don't go wait till the transaction's over, because as we know, the rat can show up every now and then, things you didn't have any control over. So make sure that when you hear something nice, that somebody's going after that. Buyer agent. Oh, I love the way you keep us informed. Oh, thank you so much. Would you mind if I sent you a quick link to just share, on whatever platform you're using, realtor.com or whatever. So it's part of your culture to contribute to the education. It's part of your culture to pour in for them to get that one idea. Going to mega camp, going to family reunion, if you have a team, make it a contest where they can help earn their way there and you help subsidize by production that they're doing. It's not much, but it's something. So when you look at all of these, we have many cyber, thank you for that. All right, yes, we have many cyberbackers take this course. And of course, Craig Goodliff's a good friend of mine who runs the cyberbackers. Okay, so remember, you've got to have number one, strategic team members. Number two, you have to have communication. Let's go to the next slide. Communication on what the goals are on a daily basis and absolute systems for that. I have all that. Number three is you've got to have a defined skill set. So when you join my course, I give you the assistant, the executive assistant, the director of operations, the buyer agent, an ISA, the listing specialist. I give you all the job descriptions and I give you all of the 30, 60, 90s. And I give you the perfect schedules for them. So you can build a team off of that. But more importantly, I think what you should hear is that you get a 450-page policy and procedures manual. In that 450-page policy and procedures manuals, it's listings, it's pendings, it's customer service, it's goal setting, it's tracking numbers. I give you a FSBO package, an expired package, but more importantly, I give you a probate package. Those are never going away. I give you an out of area owner, absentee owner. Those are never going away. Those are standards that the market and whatever the market's doing, you still have those people. How about a senior citizen package? I just put that together. Do you know that the most wealth is with the senior citizens, the baby boomers? Do you know that 40% of the entire homeowners of the United States are free and clear? Those are usually the baby boomers. And they have property and they are on the move. They're getting older, they're changing their, going near kids, getting a motorhome, driving around, go travel, get an apartment, whatever. They're getting their cash out. So you have to know that I have all of those lead generation packages there for you also. But most importantly, I think if you had anyone who attended this class, you will absolutely know that you will leave that class with the systems that you need. The systems are there. It's a 6-month class. It's $199 per month. And if you use the discount code today, you'll get $100 off. And so if you're in a hurry, Stephanie, the next slide. This is at KWRI, the next slide, and this is the 2-day boot camp. What's a little different about the 2-day boot camp, it's 2 days. And you're going to get a little bit more in depth on some of the playbooks. I've got Mo Anderson there, and a lot of you know who she is. She's part owner of Keller Williams with Gary. She's an icon. Linda McKissick, #1 networker in the world because she makes about 1.8 million in profit share. She'd have something to share with you. Joe Bogart, a coach like myself, who's coached many 7th level teams where they net over $1 million. Kristen Cole, the do's and don'ts of expansion, if you're thinking about that. And of course, Aaron Simons was my partner on listings. So let's go back to the PRIA. So respectful of everybody's time, go back to the PRIA slide, Stephanie. You know, one of the things that I want to share with you is that this is who I am. I teach people how to build systems. I just had a call from a couple of the leaders at KWRI who said, can you write this? Can you do this? And I go, of course. And so I'm a systems person. I have built so many systems over the years. It's unbelievable. I've got bookshelves of all the cassettes and books and things that I've written. What I want to do is that my goal is to empower you to build an incredible team, incredible life. And to build what you want, you have to have the blueprints. Now, I'm not always perfect on my systems, and you're going to take it to the next level. You're going to add AI on this, and you're going to add this platform, and you're going to add this thing. And that's fine. But the basics are the basics that someone started, putting in the chat box. The basics are the basics. And so that never changes. And my favorite, quote in the world is, champions are champions because they do the basics better than anyone else. So my course is basics to the highest level. If you want a listing playbook, you want a pending playbook, you want customer service, you want emails, you want checklists, I got 75 different checklists for you to use. I have all the emails for buyers, the 10 days of pain, whatever you want to call them. I have everything for you to build a great business. So I would love for you to consider either one of these classes. I'm going to be 75. I'm not feeling like I want to quit anytime soon. However, I'm feeling that, I want to pour as much as I can while I'm feeling great, doing great. And I love what I do. And it thrills me beyond belief. So a husband and wife team can participate together for $199 per month. Yes. If you got 4 assistants, it's $199 per month. But here's the thing. I want you guys to know it's all about the systems. And Gary Keller said at one of his masterminds that people come and go. The systems, if you don't have the systems, you're going to be hostage to people coming and going. Now, you may hire the unicorn 1 out of 100 and have the perfect assistant like I do with Stephanie on this call. It's been with me for 14 years. That's great. But sometimes people change positions on the team. You have the systems. It's a great recruiting tool when you have systems. Great recruiting tool. So sign up. I'd love to have you on those calls. Stephanie, are there any questions I should answer here real quick?
The only question that I would like you to address, some other people addressed it, but it's the balance between agents being independent contractors and we don't use the word requiring certain things of them. So to talk about
okay,
that
so
legalities.
I've been sued on that road down the line with California, Employment Commission. So I'll tell you exactly right. You cannot get, so when you see my material, an independent contractor, you cannot give a job description to. So you are making a huge mistake if you hire an assistant and make them an independent contractor. They can sue you and you'll be in a lot of trouble and you'll pay all the fines and all the money owed back to the government, et cetera. Don't do it. As far as an agent goes with the license, they are an independent contractor and they absolutely, you do not give them a job description. I give them a success checklist. I give them a 30, 60, 90, and I don't call it a job. It's a performance. It's a 30, 60, 90 performance contract. And so they either do it or they don't, but it's up to them to do it. So I don't say you have to be in the office at 9 o'clock. You have to make 20 calls a day. This is suggested for you to be successful on our team. These are our standards. So you can have standards. You can't have a job description. You can't tell people who are independent contractor hours to work. So the IRS made it really clear to me when I got fined a million years ago. And an independent contractor does not have hours. An independent contractor does not have a designated chair and office space and a job description that they perform every day. Now, an independent contractor can have a desk and a chair that's designated to them, but they come and go and they don't have a job description. And if somebody doesn't want to do 20 contacts a day and they don't want to do 2 open houses a week and they're an independent contractor, that's not meeting my standards. Then you're not going to be successful on our team. And I have a performance culture. So we're going to part company. Bye. And you don't owe them anything. An independent contractor, you can fire anytime you want. You don't even have to give them notice. Not so much with an employee. So remember, when you give out a job description to a director of operations, an ISA has hours in a job description. You give a job description to an executive assistant, a director of operations, a director of sales. You give them a job description. You now have made them an employee. If you give them a success checklist, that's different. So no assistant should ever not be an employee unless they have a separate business license or they're a cyber backer. That's totally different. They have a different business license. Anything else, Stephanie, real quick?
I think that's the only question that I wanted you to clear up, Monica.
Okay, I'm not out of gas yet. I'm not done yet. I'm still here. And I want to empower you to be the very best you can possibly be. Come to this class or come to the 2-day boot camp. If you have any questions, I have an email that's real simple, monica@kw.com. So come to my email, write me a question out. I'll help you. Come to the class. I'd love to get to meet you, but more importantly, I'd love to see you have the success you deserve. And more importantly, for you to know you acknowledge every single person on your team. And if you ever get on stage, you remember me on your shoulder saying, mention your team. You didn't do it alone. And nobody does any of this alone to build a great life. Will these slides be shared? Yes, it's going to be up on YouTube, but if you email me, no, I'm going to have you email Stephanie. You email Stephanie at monicareynolds.com. But if you email me at Monica KW, I'll just give it to Stephanie and she'll send you the slides. So if you want the slides, that's fine. But more importantly, come to the call and get everything. How about 450 pages of policies and procedures? How about coming to the call as an agent, knowing that I'm going to teach you to be a great boss and that you only have a performance culture. Thanks, everybody. Monica Reynolds. I'll see you on the call starting in September. You're the best. Thank you, Monica. You learned a lot. Okay, good. Thank you for being on the calls, Dian. I appreciate that. I can't even see with my glasses. Hey, everybody, go sign up. Thanks.